Welcome to the Win Solutions Podcast, your trusted partner in warehouse management. Each episode, we explore cutting-edge strategies, industry best practices, and real-world success stories to help you streamline operations, optimize resources, and stay ahead in today's fast-paced logistics landscape. Our insights are designed to empower you to understand every decision's impact in your warehouse. Let's dive into this week's episode.
I want you to imagine something for a second. You are sitting on your couch, you open up an app on your phone, and you find that highly specific power tool you need.
Right. Or, that exact pair of running shoes you've been looking for everywhere.
Exactly. And you just click buy. You don't even really think about the logistics of it.
No, of course not. You just expect a cardboard box to materialize on your doorstep by tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, it feels entirely seamless. Like it's, all just algorithms and cloud computing doing all the heavy lifting.
It really is the ultimate illusion of the modern digital economy. We press a button on a piece of glass, and we completely ignore the sheer tonnage of concrete, steel, and human coordination required to honor that single click.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're going to decode what it actually takes to build a modern logistics hub.
Because getting the sequence wrong can cost companies millions of dollars before the doors even open.
Right. So we're looking at an industry case study from Win Solutions, focusing on a seasoned builder named James Gardiner. Plus, we've got a series of these exclusive behind-the-scenes construction photos documenting one of these massive builds from the dirt.
And, for anyone who follows supply chain logistics, we already know these places aren't just empty sheds anymore.
Totally. But diving into these details, the sheer degree of preemptive integration is just staggering. I mean, they look like simple, giant metal boxes from the highway.
Well, the baseline has fundamentally shifted. Over the last 20 years, the industry moved from constructing weatherproof boxes to building highly sustainable, technology-integrated ecosystems.
Wow, ecosystems.
Yeah. The building itself is no longer a shell housing a machine. The building is the machine.
You really see that machine-first approach when you look at these construction photos from Gardiner's recent project in Truganina, Victoria.
Yeah, that massive 37,000 square meter facility for Makita.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we aren't just looking at a sequential slide presentation here. The overlap of the systems is just visceral.
Oh, definitely.
Like the first image shows the absolute skeletal beginnings. You have this raw dirt floor being benched out and leveled.
Right.
And rising out of that dirt is this massive structural steel frame outlining the open sky. But what immediately catches your eye aren't the steel columns. It's these striking, bright red fire sprinkler pipes.
Yeah, already being threaded through the overhead roof beams.
Exactly, which seems so early to me.
Which tells you everything you need to know about modern sequencing, honestly. The safety infrastructure is being woven into the very bones of the building before the walls even exist. Because you can't retrofit a high-pressure fire suppression system over a multi-story automated racking setup. It has to be the very first layer of the nervous system.
That makes sense. Then the second photo takes us into the fit-out phase. And honestly, it looks less like a storage unit and more like the inside of a supercomputer.
Yeah, it really does.
You've got these finished, polished concrete floors sectioned off with bright orange painted lines. Towering above are heavy concrete tilt panel walls.
And attached to those steel support columns are heavy-duty yellow mounting brackets.
Right, sitting just beneath those complex sweeping overhead cable trays.
Those overhead cable trays are the actual nervous system. I mean, they carry the massive data lines and power grids required to run the robotics.
The automated guided vehicles, the warehouse management software, all of it.
Exactly. You put them in the ceiling because the floor space is entirely dedicated to operational velocity.
Which perfectly explains the scale we see in the third photo. It's this vast expanse of concrete, completely dominated by a gigantic, multi-story orange and silver racking system.
It's massive.
It just stretches on and on, sitting under long rows of natural skylights. And, Gardiner actually mentions the thrill of this specific process in the case study.
Right, because he's built for blue-chip clients like Woolworths, Kohl's, UPS, and ASICS.
Yeah, 16 mega builds in total. And this was his third specifically for Makita. He talks about standing on that dirt block, watching the columns go up, pouring the slab.
Until finally product is moving and you feel like your DNA was built right into the facility.
Yeah, but looking at the sheer density of that final racking system, it forces a realization. Like, I have a naive question here.
Sure, go for it.
Why can't you just build the giant shell first, pour a generic concrete slab, and figure out where to put the robots and shelves later. It's just a big empty room.
Well, what's fascinating here is that 20 years ago, that was the accepted model.
Really?
Yeah. You built a generic enclosure, and then the tenant figured out the interior puzzle. But today, that approach guarantees absolute financial disaster.
Oh, wow.
You have to design these spaces from the inside out, starting with the specific demands placed on the structure by the technology and environmental regulations.
Well, because the physics of the building have changed, right? Like, we're not just
Yeah.
driving standard forklifts around anymore.
Exactly. We are dealing with automated storage and retrieval systems, or ASRS. These systems are bolted directly into the floor and exert massive localized point loads. An automated robot carrying a pallet of power tools travels the exact same millimeter-precise path 1,000 times a day.
Oh, I didn't even think about that repetition.
Yeah, if you pour a standard concrete slab, the continuous concentrated friction and weight will literally degrade the concrete or crack the slab.
That is wild.
So the concrete's tensile strength and thickness have to be custom engineered for the specific operating path of the robotics before you even dig the foundation.
And it's not just the floor, is it? You have large corporate operators dealing with strict ESG obligations.
Yes, environmental, social, and governance.
Right, so solar panels are no longer a nice-to-have PR addition. They are mandatory features to achieve Green Star accreditation and, reduce crippling energy costs.
Which fundamentally alters the roof engineering.
How so?
Well, if you build a standard roof structure without calculating the immense structural dead weight of a massive solar array, plus the electrical load routing for the inverters...
Your facility fails compliance on day one.
Exactly. You have to sequence the weight of the roof tech and the floor tech before the first steel column even arrives on site.
Wow. So once you accept that the building is a highly calibrated machine designed from the inside out, it leads directly into the economics of who is actually paying for it and why.
Right, because the financial model completely changes the physical anatomy of the building.
Yeah. In this industry, the entire conversation starts with one dividing line. Is this an owner build or is it a pre-lease?
It is the single most important distinction in industrial real estate. The economic intent dictates the architecture.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because an owner build, like the Makita facility in Truganina, is essentially like building a hyper-customized PC for your exact gaming or video editing needs.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. You know exactly what software you're going to run for the next decade, so you buy the exact motherboard, cooling system, and graphics card for those specific requirements.
Exactly. The client has total control, configuring the space strictly for their long-term operational velocity from day one. The client knows their specific material handling equipment, their exact labor flow, and their exact peak season volume. Everything is baked right into the architectural brief. They are building a bespoke glove to fit their specific hand.
But a pre-lease completely flips that logic on its head.
It really does.
To keep the analogy going, a pre-lease is like a property developer building a generic spec house in a new subdivision.
Yes. They have no idea who the final buyer will be.
Right. It could be a retired couple. It could be a family with 3 kids. So they paint the walls beige, put in standard appliances, and make design choices that appeal to the broadest possible market.
Because the developer is building with one eye firmly fixed on future resale or releasing.
Right.
And that eye on the future resale alters the architecture in ways that genuinely shock first-time tenants.
Oh, absolutely.
The developer is not optimizing for the tenant's current supply chain. They are optimizing for the asset's future commercial appraisal, which introduces one of the most frustrating quirks of the industry, which is the 10% office space rule.
Okay, wait. Forcing a logistics company to dedicate 10% of the total footprint just to office space.
Yeah.
On a 37,000 square meter facility, that is a massive amount of real estate.
It really is.
Like a tenant might only have a tiny administrative team and genuinely only need 500 square meters for a few desks and a break room.
Right.
How does a developer justify forcing a tenant to lease thousands of square meters of empty, air-conditioned office space they don't even want?
Well, it's all because of how commercial property is valued by institutional investors.
Okay.
If a developer builds a pure 100% warehouse structure, it has a very narrow resale market.
Ah, I see.
But if it has a 10% office footprint, appraisers classify it as a flexible institutional asset. A future buyer might be a massive e-commerce company that needs a huge on-site customer service call center.
Or like a regional sales headquarters attached to their distribution center.
Exactly. The developer forces the current tenant to absorb the cost of that office space to protect the building's future liquidity.
It is wild to realize a tenant is burning operational cash heating and cooling empty rooms just to prop up the developer's future asset value.
It happens all the time.
And Gardiner points out that neither model, whether owner-build or pre-lease, is inherently wrong.
Right, they both have their place.
But if a logistics business walks into a pre-lease contract, assuming they can customize the floor plan like an owner-build, it leads to massively misaligned expectations.
Yeah, you essentially end up fighting your own building. You are fighting a building designed for an imaginary future tenant. And if the economic model creates that much friction with the physical space, it pales in comparison to what happens when those pristine blueprints collide with local municipal government.
Oh man, here's where it gets really interesting. Because you look at Gardiner's resume, right? 16 mega builds for the biggest blue chip companies in the world.
Yeah.
When asked for his #1 lesson, his answer was incredibly blunt. He just said, plan, plan, plan. Variation down the track is the enemy.
And he is not talking about varying the software or tweaking the racking.
Yeah.
He is talking about navigating hyper-local, wildly unpredictable council regulation.
Right, because we tend to view global supply chains as these frictionless, borderless networks.
We do, but the physical nodes of that supply chain, these massive warehouses, are entirely at the mercy of municipal bureaucracy.
Yeah, local council planning requirements determine incredibly mundane details that hold the power to derail tens of millions of dollars in capital investment.
It's true. The examples are almost comical until you realize the financial stakes.
Like the toilets. A local council dictates the exact number of toilets required based on the square footage and projected headcount.
And they dictate the exact number of car parking spaces.
Yes. They control the site's operational intensity, which means if your algorithms tell you to run 50 semi-trucks in and out of the loading bays at 3:01 a.m. to meet next-day delivery quotas.
The local zoning board can simply say, no, that exceeds our noise and traffic thresholds.
Exactly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, a global logistics giant can invest $50 million in the most sophisticated AI-driven warehouse management software on the planet.
Right.
But if a local council delays your occupancy permit for 6 months because your architectural plans are short 2 toilets and 5 employee parking spaces,
that entire algorithmic advantage just halts.
Yeah.
The supply chain freezes over plumbing.
Literally.
And the cascade effect of these variations is terrifying. Let's say a company decides halfway through the build that they want to tweak their picking strategy. And the new strategy requires adding 20 more staff members to the floor during the overlap between the morning and swing shifts. The operations manager approves it, thinking it just means tweaking the digital labor schedule.
But physical reality bites back. Adding 20 staff members to an overlapping shift means you instantly need 20 more cars in the parking lot for that hour.
Right.
Which means you suddenly violate the strict parking space ratio mandated by your local council permit.
Which forces a new zoning review, which triggers a new traffic study for the local intersection, which delays the opening of the facility by months.
Your algorithmic optimization just got killed by a local traffic light.
It's insane. And that is exactly why Gardiner insists variations are the enemy. You cannot assume that because you built a facility in Sydney without a hitch, the council in Victoria will interpret the building codes the same way.
You absolutely can't. You have to lock down the operational intensity, the head count, the shift patterns, and the traffic flow before you break ground.
Right.
Which brings us to the ultimate execution phase. You have the right economic model. You've navigated the council's parking and toilet regulations. How do you physically construct this behemoth without it descending into a chaotic mess of delays and cost overruns?
Right, because the traditional corporate instinct, especially on a project costing tens of millions, is to spread the risk around.
Exactly.
A corporation's procurement department will want to hire one contractor for the concrete shell, a different specialized vendor for the racking, another for the robotics, and a separate IT firm for the software integration.
It is a natural defensive reflex. The corporate mindset dictates that fragmenting the contracts fragments the liability.
But Gardiner argues that for complex logistics builds, this fragmentation is fatal.
Yes, Win Solutions operates strictly on the principle of singular accountability. One nominated builder.
No ambiguity, no finger-pointing when the inevitable happens.
And the inevitable always happens on a 37,000 square meter build.
Oh, for sure.
Unseasonal rain delays the concrete pour. A global shipping bottleneck holds up the specialized structural steel. A council inspector flags a discrepancy in the fire suppression pipes.
Stuff always goes wrong.
Always. And if you have 5 independent primary contractors, the moment a delay occurs, they retreat into their specific contracts and point finger.
Right. The software integrator blames the racking guy.
The wrecking guy blames the concrete guy, and the concrete guy blames the weather. Singular accountability means one entity owns the problem and the solution.
And it completely redefines what a finished project actually means.
Yeah.
I think most people outside the industry envision construction ending with a handover of the keys.
Right.
The builder finishes the giant metal box, sweeps the floor, hands over a set of keys, and walks away.
Well, in a fragmented transactional build, that is exactly what happens. The construction firm delivers a weatherproof shell and leaves. The client walks into an empty, echoing warehouse and now has the monumental task of acting as their own systems integrator.
Which sounds like a nightmare.
It is. They have to figure out why the digital pick path programmed by their software vendor doesn't align with the physical steel pillars poured by the concrete vendor.
But the WN Solutions approach is a true soup-to-nuts symphony. The project is not over when the front door locks work.
Not at all.
It is only finished when the product is actively moving, the staff are working seamlessly, and the warehouse management system aligns flawlessly with the physical space.
Exactly. Going back to that third photo of the massive multi-story racking, that system only functions if the digital twin in the software knows the exact three-dimensional coordinates of every single physical shelf.
Right. If the physical steel racking is installed even 2 inches off from the digital blueprint, an automated forklift moving at full speed will crash directly into a support column.
Which is a disaster. Treating the construction of the building and the digital operations on the floor as a single, unified project is the only way to mitigate that risk.
Yeah.
It is exactly why a massive operator like Makita doesn't put these projects out to generic tender. They keep coming back to Gardiner for their second, and now third, facility.
So what does this all mean? We are essentially looking at 2 entirely different paradigms.
Yeah.
On one side, you have a transactional, here is your building, good luck making it work approach. And on the other, you have a fully integrated operational handover, where the physical structure and the digital intelligence are fused together from day one.
This raises an important question for anyone observing the broader retail and logistics landscape.
Yeah.
When we read financial news about a major retailer failing to meet delivery targets or struggling with evaporating supply chain margins, how many of those corporate failures are actually rooted in a disconnect during the build phase?
Oh, that's a great point.
Right. A disconnect between the executives drawing up blueprints in a boardroom and the brutal physical reality of the warehouse floor. If your labor efficiency in year 1 is compromised by a structural column placed 2 feet in the wrong direction, that building literally bleeds your profit margin every single day for the next 20 years.
Wow. It is an intense, high-stakes dance. You are balancing heavy structural engineering with ESG compliance, digital physical mapping, and, hyper-local municipal toilet planning.
Yeah, it covers everything.
We started this deep dive looking at a raw dirt lot in Truganina, Victoria. And through the lens of James Gardiner's 16 builds, we've decoded how that dirt transforms into a perfectly calibrated, multi-million-dollar machine.
It really forces you to reevaluate the physical infrastructure hiding in plain sight.
It really does. The next time you are driving down the highway and you pass one of those massive, windowless concrete buildings sitting off the exit ramp, you shouldn't just see a boring shed.
No, not at all.
You should look at those heavy concrete tilt panels and realize you are looking at the beating heart of the global economy. A structure where the steel, the software, and the concrete are entirely interdependent.
And, that interdependency is only going to deepen.
Well, for sure.
The operational intensity is accelerating, pushing the physical limits of these structures even further.
Which leaves me with a final, provocative thought that builds off Gardiner's experiences.
Okay, what is it?
Well, he's built 16 of these facilities and is already laying the groundwork for the next generation. But as these ecosystems become increasingly autonomous,
Right.
as warehouse management software transitions from directing human workers with scanners to exclusively orchestrating fleets of automated robots, what does the 20th or 30th warehouse build actually look like?
That's a fascinating question.
Right. If humans aren't the ones traversing the aisles or picking the products, will the warehouses of the near future even require human-centric designs? Will developers still need to argue with local councils about parking spaces, natural lighting skylights, and break room toilets?
Probably not.
Or are we rapidly moving toward an era of dark warehouses?
Yeah.
Massive, unlit, unheated, concrete monoliths engineered entirely by and for machines.
Definitely something to ponder the next time you tap that buy button on your phone, expecting your package to seamlessly materialize from the hidden, brilliantly complex depths of the modern supply chain.
Thank you for joining us on the Win Solutions podcast. If today's episode sparked ideas or inspired change, we'd love to hear from you. Visit us at winsolutions.com or follow us on LinkedIn to explore more ways to optimize your operations and stay ahead in this ever-evolving industry. Until next time.